Anybody here can get it. Treat the game like a scrimmage now. Master B with the flow. I swear nigga got no limits now. I've been ballin' for a minute. Whole team full of winners. Anybody here can get it. You tuned into the realest now. Anybody here can get it. Treat the game like a scrimmage now. Master B with the flow. I swear nigga got no limits now. I've been ballin' for a minute. Whole team
Hey
full of
team,
winners.
Jackson here again, off the platform, episode 9. We're almost at 10 episodes. What is going on? We're still making it.
Yep.
Here again, obviously, with my mate Greg Turrell. How you doing, Greg?
I'm very good, Jackson. How are you?
Good, thank you, sir.
Awesome.
All right, and then today we are graced with the presence of New Zealand powerlifting royalty. I would argue.
Royalty.
Cathy Millen. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Cathy.
I love that. That's awesome. Thank you. Nice to be here.
Five times world champion in the IPF.
Yeah.
Lost count of the records nationally and Commonwealth, but apparently 25 open world records.
Yeah, 24.
I reckon.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
also,
not every one of them, but yeah.
Yeah, no, we'll count them.
But we will.
And also the only New Zealander to be inducted into the IPF Hall of Fame as such.
Yeah, I mean, as a lifter, I mean, Precious got in early in the piece. I don't know if he was lifting for New Zealand then, but and Graham Fong's in administration, you know. But yeah, I think the only female lifter.
Wow.
Awesome. So that's a hell of a career. I mean, to be fair, powerlifting these days has got a lot of new people. So, I mean, I've talked to some powerlifters and they don't even know who Ed Cohen is. You know, they consider themselves hardcore powerlifters.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't even know who Ed Cohen is.
Well,
so,
yeah, but I think a lot of people wouldn't know me. You know,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so don't be offended if some of our listeners don't know who you are.
That's fine, you know, and I'm not active either. You know, it's not like I stayed active. So,
But they will by the end of the episode, Cathy.
They will by the end of this.
Guaranteed it.
I mean,
yeah.
to be fair, so you were lifting, obviously, and also another one of the things these days is that there's so many federations, whereas you were lifting when there was only the IPF.
yeah, there was WPC.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
That was your other option.
Was that around? Was that globally or New Zealand?
No, not in New Zealand. It was internationally. We were IPF, and that was your option, and it was equipped. That was your option. I honestly, you know, yeah, it was equipped. I honestly, when I look at Raw now, I'd much rather prefer Raw. You know, I would. You know, just because the workouts were like 4 hours. You know, you know, it's just like it was, and it's demanding. It's putting on all the gear. So yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you were lifting just when it was only single ply, wasn't it? It was just whoever could lift the most in single ply gear.
Yeah, yeah, and single whatever, and the reps were a certain length and thickness. They did bring in near the end of my career. They brought in bench shoots, but they weren't like the bench shoots now. I mean, it's an art. It's an art.
You didn't even have bench shirts.
They did have bench shirts at the end, about my last year, you know. When I went to the world bench, my last comp was the world bench press champs. And we were having them then, but they weren't like, I don't know, they weren't like, what are they called? You know, katana, whatever they, you know, those
super katanas.
They weren't, you could get, they were a mission to get on, but they didn't have the same, you know, tension across here. So
comfort they do now.
What was the material? Do you remember the material, Cathy? Was it denim?
It was like the super suits of that time.
Yeah.
So I think they were single, maybe double ply.
Yeah.
They might be, maybe double ply, but even the material, I don't know now, is equipped sort of like, you know, isn't it really now?
Yeah, now you've got guys making suits out of Kevlar and.
Oh, they stand up on their own.
You know, yeah.
Oh, some of the metal products. Yeah, I've seen those. They're crazy. Yeah.
You know, some of those Leviathan
in America, maybe, I think, mainly, isn't it? That they still
you almost need like 1,000 kilos or 500 kilo squats just to move in the thing.
Yeah.
To me, it's not. I've never very gravitated to that sort of thing, you know. So.
Yeah. I just wonder if it's a natural evolution of things, you know, bigger, stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People want the weights, but you know, I've heard a few snapped humeruses and stuff like that, just because they're handling weight their body's not used to handling, you know. So
yeah, exactly.
Ludicrous.
Yeah,
crazy.
You know, you always see these days those tan sort of Inza suits that every West Side guy seems to wear now. I swear those things must be like 3 or 4 ply, and they're made out of canvas. And every time,
honestly, they stand up on their own.
Yeah, with those Velcro straps. That seems to be every big squat. I think Dave Hoff wears one as well. Wow. Every big squat these days is in one of those.
Yeah.
they're squatting just ludicrous. I think 570 or something was the most recent.
Wow, really?
568 or something like that. It was ridiculous.
Are they deadlifting that?
No, of course not.
No.
Of course not. I mean, those guys, it's hilarious, isn't
it? No, we won't talk
that,
about the deadlifts.
they'll squat 550 and then max out with like a 280 deadlift.
280 deadlift, yeah.
So you can't, it's not the same benefit.
Yeah. But, I mean, for you, what was your best total? I've got down here that your best total was 672.5.
Yeah, that was actually in New Zealand. That was my last 3-lift event, which was in Rotorua. So it was nice to finish up on that, Finish up on that at our home soil. Yeah. I was actually looking for 700 though. That's what I wanted, but I was very close. They didn't give me. I had my third attempt was 360 on the squat. And sometimes as a lifter, if you're honest, when you've got it and when you haven't. And I really felt I had it. I felt that I hit the depth, but that's lifting. So that would have given me about. God, I'm trying to think. Would have given me maybe another 10 kilos or something like that. But hey.
So according to Open Powerlifting, Cathy, so 260 was your second squat, and then you went for a third attempt.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Thanks, mate.
That's right. It was 94. I don't expect you to remember.
26 years ago.
90, yeah. So that was, then your third attempt was a 267.5 kilos.
That's what it was.
Yeah, which you didn't get. But then you nailed a 162.5 kilo bench for your third attempt and a 260 kilo deadlift for 682.5 Yeah, that was
672.
672.5.
And I was very lucky on that
682,
last deadlift.
682.
I was really lucky on that last deadlift because I could feel it going.
Oh, really?
On my grip.
Yeah.
It was just like, I had a few problems. And I was just very fortunate. I just hung on to it, so.
Yeah, the ripe old age of 26 as well, eh? That was,
I know. Felt older though.
Oh, but, bit of wear and tear.
Yeah,
but just
I think I look younger now at 54 than I did.
Oh, you look fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you.
So a little bit of context. You started powerlifting at 14, eh?
I went into the gym at 15 was my first comp. So I think I was 14, and I went for tennis. And back then you didn't have a lot of options. And I went to, I heard there was a lot, like a weight training thing on a Saturday morning. And I lived in Christchurch. I'm from Christchurch. And I went in, but it was Olympic lifting for boys only. They still separated.
Boys only.
Yeah, boys only. So I was a bit bummed, but I thought, the funniest thing is I wish I'd learned to lifting because it really is it's beneficial, But anyway, I couldn't go there. So I heard there was lifters doing a Monday, Wednesday, Friday thing after school, which was perfect. And that's when I went in that following Monday and met. I didn't know about powerlifting. I was going for weight training for my tennis because I was a competitive tennis player, and then I was introduced to powerlifter, and that's how it started.
That was it.
That's how it started.
Yeah, I love that.
The name Cathy comes from my first coach because my given name is Catherine and my family name is Kate. So I'm not actually, that's my mum was mortified that I started using that name, because my first coach was absolutely deaf. He was stone deaf, but he was amazing. He could lip read. So it was a great sort of relationship, but he called me, he thought I said Cathy. And it just,
That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. Yes.
Yeah. Nice.
I like it. Yeah.
So was that a thing back in the because we're talking about the 80s, or was this the late 70s?
80.
Hang on, Greg, you can't
81,
ask that.
Yeah, 81.
Oh no,
you
never asked.
People will start doing the maths.
yeah, let's not go there.
I know, but I'm just
happy to be here.
I was just thinking that's impressive to think, because it was a recommendation to you to do weight training to improve the tennis. That was where I was going.
Heard about it. I heard about it.
Okay.
And I was very driven. And whenever I was, I decided very young I wanted to be the best at something, So I didn't know what sport it was going to be. I thought it was going to be tennis. And in fairness, I probably didn't have the right temperament for tennis. I played it reasonably well, and I was quite good on a local.
You didn't snap enough rackets?
Yeah.
I didn't break that, but no. I just, and also, you just had to have a lot of coaching.
Yeah.
And, we couldn't afford that. So anyway, I was sort of at the, how can I get better at my tennis? And I went in and I didn't know I was actually strong, but I went in, I deadlifted 50 Ks, you know, because they would just showed me the lift. So I just went in and gave it a go.
Did it?
So, you know, and I was probably 50. I think my first class was, what was it then, 52 or something, or 57 or something like that. Yeah. High school.
Yeah.
So
it was unusual. I mean, you know, women didn't go and do weights.
Nah, women didn't do weights. It was just cardio.
There weren't many gyms, let alone a teenage kid, you know. So when I rocked in, and I tell you, it was a dusty, one of those dusty, and I loved that. I loved that about it.
Perfect.
Dusty, talky gym, you know,
Yep.
and clank, old weights, you know, on the mat wrestlers, some of the on the mat wrestlers train there and stuff like that. So it was very male dominated. But this guy saw me and he took me under his wing, and I was grateful because I don't know, you know, I was like naive, you know, I'm just going in I want to learn something, you know. So, but yeah, different time.
I like that. That seems to be a real powerlifting thing. Is that someone more experienced seems to take the new, you know, you find that if someone's willing to learn, someone more experienced will take you under their wing. I mean, I had that a lot. I've only ever had one formal coach, but I've had a lot of guys like that take me under their wing sort of thing. That seems to be a real powerlifting thing. I don't know if you see, I mean, because you can just intermingle, I suppose, and you just train together. You can't really do that in many other sports.
I've you know, you listen to the history of many successful athletes, and one of the common themes you'll hear is that somebody took them under their wing very early on, you know, and had a great start. You know, whether it be bodybuilding, powerlifting, or any other sport, really, someone did take them under their wing, you know. You know, I was in the gym at 15, but nobody took me under their wing. So it wasn't until bloody, you know, 30 that I discovered powerlifting. But, you know,
that's your excuse.
Yeah, I'm sticking to it. I'm sticking to it. Exactly.
So was that for something else? Did you go in for another sport, or because a lot of people get into for another sport? Maybe now it's different. It's probably different now.
Yeah, for me personally, no, I was never into team sports. You know, I was never interested in team sports. You know, I obviously tried the usual rugby, soccer, and all that, but didn't really stick. But then powerlifting stuck for me for some reason. Found a gym where I was, Damo Clayton. You probably remember that, Cathy, that name. And he took it.
Remember that name? Oh yes, of course, yes, yeah.
Damien Clayton, Rachel, they took me under their wing. But of course, that was at early 30s. So, and went from there. But Jackson, you were very fortunate, eh? Someone took you.
Yeah, I mean, I was very similar to Cathy. I got into it I got a gym membership for my 16th birthday, and just jumped in. And I mean, I was similar. I was playing sports that you didn't really think about going to. I was playing volleyball and badminton, of all things, you know.
Well, you're a nerd, eh?
Mate, I honestly, if you've seen, I need to find the photo and show you. I was the nerd at school.
I'll put
did
that
my
up
homework
before and after. Yeah.
But and then I actually missed out on the school badminton tryouts.
Oh.
And the coach, because I was at volleyball nationals.
Yeah.
And I know. And then the coach wouldn't let me try it training or whatever. So I said, stuff it, and just started going to the gym 6-7 days a week.
Wow.
Good on you.
Good on
and
you,
then there we are. You know,
Where are you from, Jackson? Where are you from?
I'm from over on the coast in Greymouth, but I went to school in Christchurch.
Oh, okay. I thought you were a country boy.
Yeah. So, and then like, I mean, and then powerlifting. I was like, I didn't realize that I was that strong. And then someone was like, oh, you should try this. And then there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, you just keep at it. That's one of those cool sports, you know, that you can just, as long as you can keep putting in little bits of effort, you can keep getting better and better, you know.
Yeah. So Cathy, friends and family, what do they say when you started going to the gym? Because obviously it wouldn't have been that normal, would it, back then?
No, but the one that made it, it was my dad. My dad was Irish. He had, my mother was more of a warrior, and she would, if it had been just up to my mum's decision, I wouldn't have been a lifter.
Oh,
and she
really?
cried at my first competition.
And
she cried at my last competition, you know. So, and, this training and all this sort of stuff. So my mother, I would not have got in the lifting gym, you know, and into lifting at all. But my dad allowed me to do things. And so, because I was just that kid. I was a tomboy back then. You got labelled a tomboy. So I did all the things, you know. And he knew I had a drive, you know. And, but I realised that when I was young, I displayed sort of little feats of strength because, you know, at 8, I was lifting 50 kilo bags of coal. Not above my head or anything, but they back when coal was, you know.
Coal was the thing.
I could lift it up and move around because I had jobs and all those, and that was part of it. So when I look back now, I realized, because I said to my mum, surely Dad realized that I must have thought that was a little unusual, and he said, "Oh, she's a strong girl," and that was about it. But he was very open like that. So my dad was great. Mum was okay, and that's because of my dad. I could get under to the gym, and I had to cycle and get myself in there. Like I lived out in the suburbs, so I had to cycle 6Ks in and cycle 6Ks back. Do it, but when you're 14 and 15, 16, you can do that. It doesn't affect it, And I was playing tennis. I kept playing tennis for a while, and then eventually I dropped tennis. And then just because I did my first worlds at 16, so it was a little unusual.
First world champs at 16.
16, it was open back then. There was no juniors.
Crazy. There was no juniors, no nothing.
No, it was, and it was a different time. You can imagine.
Yeah,
no
huge.
No testing back then.
Yeah.
So they were huge.
Yeah.
And I'm 16. I'm going then. Oh,
what's going on here?
They're big girls.
Yeah.
But I didn't come with any preconceived ideas, so it wasn't a matter of that. They're using.
Yeah.
I didn't think like that. It wasn't the same attitude towards it that it is now.
Yeah. So that was 1983. Looking at open powerlifting, the women's world powerlifting championships in South Australia.
Yep.
Right.
What were the lifts there? Numbers there?
Third attempt squat was 137.5, benching 72.5 and deadlifted. Wow, deadlifted 180.
Yeah, that was my thing.
At 16.
16. 60 kilos.
60 kilos. You were deadlifting triple body weight.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's ridiculous. That's crazy.
What's going on there, Cathy?
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, and I can honestly say I was clean.
I mean, you were 16.
16, I hope so. Yeah.
God damn.
That was a different time back there, Jackson.
Yeah, mate, we're missing out.
Wow.
No, that's huge. Like, I mean, people come in these days and they think that they're strong, I mean, 180 is a decent deadlift in most gyms, anywhere.
Yeah, it was.
And you were doing as a I'm
16-year-old girl.
officially going to start telling people that when they start coming to me and telling me that they're strong.
I sort of had to remind people when they sort of think, when you look at my history, but I said, I'd lifted 180 kilos at 16 years old. So there was obviously a foundation of strength.
Yeah.
Huge, yeah. Obviously the genetics were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're not from my family because I'm adopted.
Oh, interesting.
So you got no idea.
No. I know who my mother is, and I think I know who my father is, but I haven't met them. But it's I was just
somewhere
blessed,
up the family
very
tree.
blessed with great genetics. Yeah, I'm from my father's from Rotorua, so I think I know who he is, and I have sort of met him, but we haven't done the test on that yet or anything.
Okay.
So somewhere up the family tree, there is Viking blood mixed with Islander blood, mixed with Russian blood, mixed with.
I would be. Well, I'm going to get that ancestry test because I'm curious to know. And I know that I'm half Welsh because my mother is, and she gave me some information. She wouldn't meet me, but she gave me that information.
Okay.
So I know that I'm half Welsh. But that was good to know. What's my white side? Well, I don't know. And I knew that the quarter of me was Māori, and the white part of my father, I don't know. And I think it's a bit of an
Icelandic. I'm picking it.
Probably.
Got to be when you think of those big boys doing the strongman. You know, 3/4 these big European boys, aren't they? So.
Wait. Okay. Random strongman stat. But so in Iceland, they have a population of like 300,000. Yeah.
Incredible people.
At one stage, out of the top 10 strongmen in the world, they had 6.
Wow.
They had 6 of the top world's strongest men.
Wow.
That's
from 300,000 people.
Strong people. Yeah, they're fuck all people over there.
There's no one over there.
No, there's no one.
Yeah.
Maybe they all like plow fields or something with.
Yeah. I mean, I've been
with their hands.
Wow.
I've been to Iceland. It's ridiculous. They all live in I don't know how to say it. Reykjavik, I think it is. I don't know how to say it. It's spelled funny.
Yeah, because most of it's uninhabitable.
Most of it's uninhabitable. It's just ice. But so they have about 250,000 people living in that one city.
Wow.
And then they have 50,000 who just like are mountain men. And I think they must just come down occasionally. And then, like,
that'll be the way.
You know what I mean? Like
pillage and
yeah, it's crazy over there, man. It's such a cool country though.
Yeah.
I bet.
Strong.
Yeah.
So obviously strong blood there, Cathy.
Yeah, definitely.
180. 180, yeah. And then looks like straight after that you jumped into now what's this? Because I've never seen this. The NZAWLA. What's that?
I've seen that on Open Powerlifting. What is that?
I don't know. What is it? NZWLA?
Yeah, the federation is NZAWLA. And then you did the New Zealand champs in '83, and then
got me. I can't remember.
North Island champs in December. So you competed. Well, you competed in May, September, and then December.
Is this as a teenager?
Yeah. So
it must have been. It would have been an IPF though, because it was only. Oh, it might have been the New Zealand Weightlifting Association.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
The New Zealand Powerlifting Association. You know.
Oh, okay.
So that's what that was. Because it was one body at one stage. You know. So
interesting.
Yeah, and then they separated. Yeah.
Yep.
Right, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I have seen that on a few of the older totals. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be what it is.
Yeah, the New Zealand, I don't know, amalgamated weightlifting association or something like that.
Yeah. And then back to the women's world powerlifting champs in '84.
Oh, yeah, that was a disaster.
Yeah, that was
that was a disaster.
That was
what happened?
I did not live well
place.
then. No.
Yeah.
And then I think I had a bit of a break until I came back in probably had a few years off Eddie Worlds, I think. And then
there was a comp in a local comp in '85, the New Zealand.
Yeah, this to be local though. I don't think I did I think my comeback was in '91 90, sorry.
90 in Sweden.
Yeah.
At the age of
I had a good lead up into that, you know.
Oh, bloody hell! 22, and then you just did single attempts there. There's no second and third. So, but
didn't need to, just one.
Just didn't need to.
No, I did do second and thirds.
Oh, they've only got the first.
Maybe they just don't show them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like it must be a huge undertaking for these guys to capture all these numbers. I mean, we're going back.
Oh, yeah,
exactly. You know, and they're older records. You know, so
yeah.
I'm surprised they have those. That's mad.
That's great. It's good that they do, because otherwise it can kind of get lost in time.
Who sorts that? Who's out there?
Open Powerlifting is it's just an open source project. I think it's just a bunch of what do you call them, fanboys? Jackson, I don't know. If they're not. And girls, honestly, they're not powerlifters. Not all of them are powerlifters. I don't think.
Yeah, no, they're not. I mean, like Jared, who we got to do all the changes to the software here. He's never done a comp in his life. I don't think.
Yeah,
he loves powerlifting, loves stats.
Yeah.
So they're just, they're a bunch of guys that basically, I mean, I think a couple of guys in the States started it.
Okay.
And then it just got bigger and bigger from there. And now they have people working on it all over the world, which is dope.
That's
and they've got some ridiculous number of meat data entered.
Yeah.
Like it's almost in the millions. Like,
oh wow.
I'm pretty sure it's late hundreds of thousands.
I
don't know.
I can imagine. Yeah.
You know, like they've got. Don't. You'll need to fact check that. That's probably me exaggerating, but it's something huge.
Yeah.
Because I've just got people working on it basically 24/7. You know, while someone else is sleeping, someone else is doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know we have our own dedicated person when we have a GPC comp. You know, someone contacts
send it
me,
to them,
or I contact them, and the results are uploaded the next day. So it's really handy. So that comp in 1990 was in Sweden. Squatted 212.5, benched 120, and deadlifted 230. So a big jump, age 22. And you were a bit lighter, You were an 82.5 kilo class for that one.
I think it would have been a light one though. I think that's what happened. I think I went up because I went up a little bit because to sort of get a better. There was Lizzie Oddendale or something, and she was sort of dominating back then. I actually think I would have beaten her. But or there was something like that. But anyway, Graham moved me up. We moved up, and I was a light to 82.
Was that Graham?
376. Graham Fong. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about Graham Fong, because
so he was your
I know the name. I know the name, but I don't know.
Well, Graham's very heavily and still is involved, I believe, in NZ PF.
I believe he's still a
IPF. Sorry,
a consultant or something.
Yeah, he's more like
PF.
What do you call them? Honorary. It's probably, but he still was involved. And I think really he's. I mean, it was him and Stan Holman that started it back in the 70s. So I think he's been very, very involved in it. He's put invested a lot of time, and so he still keeps a hand and just keeps them honest. Really, to be honest.
Yeah.
And you need that. So
you do.
Yeah.
You do.
I mean, that kind of experience. That's
Wow.
You can't throw
he knows
that
the
away.
rules, I tell you. He's got it up. He's still sharp.
So did he coach you your whole powerlifting career, most of it?
He did when I came up to Auckland. I came up to Auckland when I was 17, and he coached me through to when I retired.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
Awesome.
wow. Okay, so
I
that's good.
don't see Graham a lot, but we still get on well.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a prick at times, but
Yeah.
then I wasn't the easiest person, so.
I mean, I think if your clients don't say that about you, then you're probably not doing your job.
Well, it was an unpaid job, mate. He wasn't getting
Yeah, true.
any money.
Oh, is that right?
So
Good
it
on
was
him,
like
man.
a full job. Yeah, because he donated a lot. So it's always great when I always acknowledge him, even though we fell out near the end of my lifting career. It took us a long time to sort of come right with each other, but that's life. But I always acknowledge him because I wouldn't have got where I was without him.
Yeah.
It's important to do that, even if you've had your differences.
Yeah. Well, I think anyone involved in sport, is passionate, and passions can get in the way, and mixed passions with a little bit of ego, and the wrong thing can be said, and words can be shared, and regrets and so forth. That's just the nature of human relationships, really. Right. But I think it's accentuated in sporting relationships or sporting friendships, isn't it? Because
And I mean, like you're saying, like Greg, in powerlifting, it attracts people who are good at single person sports.
Yeah.
It doesn't attract people who work well in teams.
No, exactly.
No, well, it's funny. I was a team sport person for many years, so I did like teams. But I got into, I found I went individual because I realized that I had to rely on all these other members. And, when you do racket sports and individual things, because that's what I did a lot of coordinating sports, then I didn't need to do that, so that was the difference, I was responsible to get out there and train and all the rest of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, you do. It's definitely we've talked about this previously on the podcast, Cathy, but your training environment is what sort of effect do you reckon that has on you as a lifter? Because like we've talked about it before, where people who it's individual sport, but it is actually a team environment as such, because you'll have powerlifters all training together. You never really trained by yourself, did you? Or was that your thing?
I actually did.
Right.
So it was the other way around for me.
Cool.
I
so you did better
mainly
on
my own. And then when I got close to events, then we would seek out going to different, like Kevin Judson or people that we knew. We'd go and train with them for the, to have an environment. So I created my own thunder in that way, whereas now, of course, it's just how it is, and it took me a little bit. I wasn't used to that when I sort of came back into it in my 40s. I was used to just doing things on my own, so I found it uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I wasn't used to being around people on that, but I mean, you need it. It is a team environment in a gym, and I like that now, but back then Graham had his own gym in the back of his house, and he had a fully equipped gym. Back then it was really impressive for the time.
Yeah.
And had all the weights and stuff like that. So most of it was just me and him. And we might bring, it wasn't a lot of space. He had a full-size bloody billiard table in there for a while. But I could work around it, but it was just really me. So I had to create that,
So did
you know, he's the only one yelling at me.
Yeah.
Graham, he's got nothing. He wasn't able to fucking catch me, so I had to lift the fucking
the old Jesus
I'll
spot.
be on my own. I'll be stuck at the bottom. So yeah.
You must have had pretty loose kit then, if you just got it on yourself.
No, when we got into that stage, is when I went to others because I needed help.
Right, I see. Yeah. I've tried a bit of that, and it's not easy to get on.
Especially because I went. Back then they were marathon suits. I don't know if you've ever seen a marathon suit, but they rip the shit out of your legs. It was like 20 minutes just to get it up to your waist,
Oh, wow.
If you had to go for a pee, you just went through your suit.
Yeah.
Honestly, and also I had dark suits. So
the commitment.
I didn't. It was honestly had welts around my legs, and it's just what it was, Yeah. So then I'd go to, you probably don't know these places, Power Pit or whatever it was, Power Station. These places like that,
So most of your training was raw.
No, I did do quite a bit raw to a point, and then there was like so many weeks out, I'd start reps, and a looser suit, and then we did it in stages. We just didn't go straight into the tight suit, so I'd build into it, and get the most out of each suit. Yeah. And then I would make sure that I'd worn the one on competition at least once or twice, so it wasn't like in case it's
Brand new.
split, it's the last thing I want.
Yeah.
And so it was, it's definitely like we had stages, and Graham was a great teacher and I was a good student. And so I would, we always had sort of things. I was very, very organized with my kit. Everything had its place in my bag, and because I was a very methodical person, in the way I did things. So I like to rep my own reps because I didn't want to.
Same. Yep. I've been on that boat.
I want them done one of them done a way and all that sort of thing. So, it's all energy, but I think I got good at, managing that. And the other thing I did in lifting is that I worked with he was actually psychotherapist, but it was, sports sort of conditioning mentally wasn't really done.
No,
he was my secret weapon. I never told too many people about him and lifted, but he was my secret weapon, and he was an amazing man. Sadly he's passed, but he's what in the last few years when I worked with him, he's what really helped me pull those really big ones out of the bag.
Take us through that, Cathy, because I know one of our listeners talked about the mental game.
It's huge.
Yeah,
it's everything. It's the difference between winning and lifting and not lifting. And you have, in lifting, you have seconds. So you have to know you're going to get it, It was a big part of my game, and I did a lot around that. Yeah.
I mean, when you were like Greg's just said, that's a relatively new thing to most people. But so you were ahead of the game on that. Yeah. So what was your trigger as such, or did you have like a method you went through in your head to get switched on? Or
what he taught me was how to access that part of my subconscious mind. So like in my training, and I was very receptive. I mean, all sports people who are successful, or anyone who's successful, have that ability. But you do it. But he helped me he did tapes for me. He helped me work through. There was a period where I was buckling, in my squat, and it was a bit of a mental thing. You don't want to be buckling in your squat.
No.
But it was through visualization and things like that he actually got me out of that.
Huge.
So he was hugely impactful in that last part of my lifting career. Hugely, and so I had tapes, I had a whole process. I knew exactly what was going to happen, even though I might be over in India or somewhere, or Sweden. The whole process of going up into the whole way I'd walk into it, everything. I'd rehearse absolutely everything. There was nothing that was left to chance. Yeah.
Did you have? There was no video back then, so did you have a ridiculous? Is there still videos?
they might be VHS.
I'm kidding.
Come on.
It wasn't Blu-ray, but it was still around.
Yeah, not 4K.
Not like frame by frame.
Yeah. No, so we talked about this on the last podcast, but did you have a ridiculous deadlift dance set up?
I did a ridiculous setup on my deadlift.
Like set up on the deadlift. I don't know if you've seen some of the recent videos, but people just go over the top and they almost tighten themselves out setting up.
Yeah, I definitely had a setup, but that was something. That's where Graham was excellent.
Yeah.
We never missed things out. He looked after that. I didn't have to worry about anything like that. I just had to be in the mindset, So everything was timed. I didn't like being rushed. And my warm-ups and stuff like that. So that was all methodically worked out. And so he would always be running up and down, up and up and down. So I just knew what I had to do. So as soon as I was there before that lifter, the last lifter, as soon as my name's called, I'd up, and I had it wasn't a ridiculous process, but it was like walk up, there was a setup in the deadlift.
Definite process.
Definitely had a setup in the deadlift. Same as I had a setup with the way
and the squat, and the bench.
Everything was,
Yeah, you have a checklist you go through in your head as
absolutely.
such.
Yeah, and it was just done so many times. It was automatic.
Massive. Yeah, I mean that's it. That it sort of got lost a wee bit, but that's one big thing that I constantly drill into my clients as well is rep consistency.
Yes.
And set up consistency, because you have to have it the same every time, because like say when you get into a comp, there's so many things that you're not in control of. So you have to control what you can.
Yes. And I always say to people, like I always did this, is that I would go and check the place out before I'd left. I knew what it was going to be like. So mentally, I had that mental picture. And so I'd be like, no, okay, well, this is where I'm going to be doing. I'll be sitting up here, blah, 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 blah. And I just knew how it was going to be, So some people just come and it's just, they're all over the place,
Yeah.
So,
planning.
There wasn't anything left to chance.
Yep. That's, I mean, the results speak for themselves, really. It's, a lot of people just show up on the day and they got no idea what they're going to try, you know. So you would have.
It was worked out. That was worked out.
Yeah.
It was worked out, but it was like adjustable depending, because, you know, on the day and everything else, it was always like, sometimes it was having to make weight. If it was in India, it was fucking hot, you know, it's things like that. You just have to, make adjustments, you know, so like, you have a plan. Yeah.
You go on with the plan for your attempts and stuff as well, don't you?
Absolutely. You know.
Yeah, of course. I get people asking me that all the time. They're like, "Oh, I'm going to open on this, and then I'll just see how it feels." And I'm like, "Hang on, what?"
Yeah. Well,
what do you mean?
Well,
You're just going to like send it on the third? Like, have you got no idea what you're going to try?
Yeah, it's like people who, you know, like, and we have to go deep. Oh, squat that depth on the day. Well, you fucking won't.
No,
no, you won't.
No,
you'll bomb on the day, and good luck.
Every time I hear that, I think, oh, this is going to end badly.
And you know, bombing is a good experience. I bombed in my first nationals. I never bombed after. So, you know,
Crazy.
It's a good thing to bomb, but when you keep bombing, there's something going on.
Something wrong. There's one lifter that I've ever seen squat high in training and then get it on the day is my training partner Jamie. Literally in training, never does a squat to depth, never ever.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And then on the day, just hands it down.
Just sinks
hands it down.
Yeah.
You know,
the same weight or the same weight as he backed it off?
Heavier, bro. Heavier. It's ludicrous.
He's a freak.
He's an absolute freak. I mean, so get this. All right. So NZ Open probably. Oh, what's that? What are we going? 2019. Yeah, last year. So we're in the gym. Yeah, and he's squatting heavier each week. I know. I think he started at 320 was his single. We'd do a single and then drop off to back off sets.
Yeah.
So he hit 320. You know, a couple of weeks later keeps going. We get to 350 the week for 350. Misses 350. And he's tried to squat it high. So misses a high 350. Comes back the next week, just gets it, but it's high as well.
Yeah.
And then comp 2 weeks later, he nails 370. Nails 370.
Oh, you're kidding.
3 white lights.
That, you know, then he has something in his mind. He switches it on in the day.
He does. He's an absolute savage. He's not scared of anything.
Yeah.
No, you just like, and some people, they're drawing on the energy of the group and people, and, you know, boom. Yeah. He's one of those people, and good on him, you know.
Good on him. Yeah, exactly.
It would do my head into train like.
Yeah, I'm the same. I hate it because I'm like, bro, you're squatting, like, you know, I'll squat on the day how I squat in training.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so I hate it because we're constantly like, I'm constantly like, just sink your squats, bro. He's like, I don't need to. And I'm like, I know, that's why it annoys me. But yeah, it's funny the difference some people train. So what was your sort of training philosophy as such? I mean, we've sort of touched on it already, but so you were very conservative in training, or did you push the boat out? Or
yeah, I mean, I would do one top set, you know. So, you know, if there was 3 sets of 5, for example, or 4, you know, it'd be one top set. So I think that's, you know, I mean, the training I did back then, I mean, sure, you know, there's been advances and methods and stuff like that, but it still holds, you know, because the thing is
that stuff works.
It still holds, you know, the bodies haven't changed, but I think was never really testing in the gym. That's what comps are for. And I don't agree with the whole testing thing that people do. I'm not into that, but I respect it, because how many people I've seen, and these are respected lifters who now, I don't know now because I'm a bit out of touch, but they'd go flat, you know, because they're every 6 weeks they're testing, and this RPE thing, you know. I'm not a system. I don't like systems. I'm not really big on systems, you know. But anyway, that's another story. But you know, so I just used to think, why are you doing it? And then they're benching. I mean, benching twice a week, yeah, but deadlifting twice a week, squatting 3 times a week. People forget the role of the central nervous system in lifting. They really do.
Yeah.
If you do not recover, then you know you're going to be flat.
Yeah.
So you know that's the thing. And so I, you know, and strength will hold. I think, and I understand it because it's a confidence thing. But your strength will hold for weeks. You know, it came for a few weeks, you know, like I'd had 2 weeks in between, like my deadlift sometimes, a week and a half, you know, but I'd do one top set when I was getting near the end, you know, and back off on the assistance. So, you know, it was at 3 times a week, sometimes 4. And, you know, I think I'd bench, it would be like squat once a week, deadlift once a week, getting closer to comp once every maybe 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously assistance exercises, you know. So, you know, I mean, it wasn't, I don't know where the theory, what the mentality is now, where the RPE is still featuring like it was when I came back into it.
Definitely is, and it annoys the
So,
hell out of me.
it
annoys the hell out of me.
When I see top lifters doing it, I think, you know, I just, without naming names, I think, why are you doing that? You know, and for me, it's just a lack of knowing other options, and not, you know, of course, you know, it's all about the internet and YouTube and shit like that. And so, you know, they get a lot of information, you know.
I think also the testing thing that you're saying about, so, I mean, these days, a lot of it's about social media, you know what I mean? And so the normal training, or what me, you and Greg would consider training, it's not sexy. It doesn't sell. It's not fun to watch on Instagram. And it's not fun to go and do 5 sets of 6 on a squat at a light weight and make them all look perfect. It's not cool. Doing like a hard grinding single where your nose is exploding and the bar's shaking, that's like cool on Instagram, you know? So people they almost feel like they need to stay relevant. So they feel like they need to max out more often, I think.
And that's what everyone's doing.
Yeah. And I
suppose it's the sheep thing, isn't it?
Yeah, not a fan. Well, you got to stay relevant somehow. Otherwise, you lose the likes, you lose fans. You know.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I
think a lot of bodybuilders.
There's no social media back then, so in some ways it was easier because I didn't have that pressure.
Probably a good thing. Yeah. I think a lot of bodybuilders fall into that trap too, and the smarter ones will take a bunch of pictures at their peak, and then they can slowly sort of roll them out across the year. But you can't do that with powerlifting. You know, you can't obviously, you can't peak day after day, week after week. So you've got to be really careful about it. So, it's going to be 8 months of the year where it's going to be pretty boring.
Side note, there is a few social media people who do that. They'll do like a couple of heavy weeks and take videos of like, say, 20 different exercises and only post up a couple and then carry on posting them for the next 4 weeks while they're training properly.
While they're doing their regular workouts.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Larry Wheels is a good one for that. I don't know if you've heard of Larry Wheels.
No.
Everyone's like, oh, he trains heavy all the time, but he doesn't.
No.
He'll do a few heavy sessions and video every exercise, and then he just posts it over the next 4 weeks, and it's like, oh, PR'd my leg press, PR'd my squat, PR'd this. Whereas he set all those PRs about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and it's probably setting people up with unrealistic expectations as well.
Yeah,
that's right.
And they're making mistakes in the gym because of it. Yeah,
of course it does, because then they think that's how he trains. And I mean, he does train like an absolute savage, but that's beside the point. You know, he's one of those freaks.
It sounds like it's more about the weights instead of what they're technically.
Of course.
You know,
of course.
Because I do think that's what I see is lost. If I'm honest, is physical technique. Technique was a massive part of what I did. That's what we did in the gym all the time. And so when I went into what they call the bridge, Mike Bridges was a very popular lifter when I was, in my heyday, and he had what they call the Bridges flair. So Graham, we did that, but it took me 2 years to get that. It took time, to correct those things. And I sort of, that's where I feel it's lovely to see lifting where it is today. It really is lovely to see that, but I sort of feel a little bit sad that there's not that sort of part of the sport is lost a little bit. Unless, I think in other places there would be, there'd still be emphasis on technique and stuff like that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I think,
Kazakhstan.
Yeah. I mean, obviously those guys, they, Eastern Europe and Asia and stuff, they pick them out at 3, 4 or 5 and they're like, right, you're going to be a powerlifter. And then they just train them for that from there with a broomstick, or a weightlifter. That's why they're so good.
Yeah.
But
you see a lot of the top guys now, and you watch them lift, and it's quite careful and meticulous, and very, very carefully and executed. I can't think of lifters. Can you think of the lifters, Jackson, that are a bit gung ho and a bit loose with their technique? I can't think of any top of my head.
What are you talking about? Like top powerlifters?
Top powerlifters. You're talking, top.
I'm talking more about average.
Yeah, the mid range. There's a lot of mid range powerlifters that are like that.
Most top ones will put emphasis on their technique.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
The top guys have to. But the other thing is that those top guys have got there, and their technique's so good that all they do. So, Cathy, you mentioned assistance exercises before. How much emphasis did you put on those? Because a lot of it's people sort of see the top guys at the moment, and all they do. Really, if you look at someone like Andrei Milanichev, he goes in for a squat workout, he hits a top set. I think I saw him. he did a 460 double or something like that. You know, ridiculous.
Yeah.
And he does that as his, and that's his squat workout. He's done, because that's all his body needs. His technique's good. He's absolutely hammered his central nervous system. I mean, that's enough weight to destroy you for 10 days for a double. You know, his technique is absolutely flawless. So he doesn't need to do any assistance. But a lot of people see that and they're like, oh, I'm just going to go in and just squat.
Yeah,
when they're an average lifter.
Where your weaknesses in the squat. So what I would do is that I would do things like walkouts.
Yep.
I found those really useful for me.
Right.
Because, you know, and then quarter squats, so I could handle a lot, like another 20, 30 kilos of just walking out on my back.
Crazy.
When I come to do a top set and, you know, and heavier weights than I was used to in a comp, it wasn't foreign.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Right.
So we would do like quarter squats and stuff like that. We did, there wasn't a lot of assistance, in fairness. There wasn't a lot. I might do a little bit, maybe another couple of exercises, and that was about it. Yeah. Because, you know, once you got onto especially towards that last month.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it was just squat. Yeah. And especially with equipped.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. True. That's fair. Yeah. That's one thing you don't see a lot of these days is the walkouts and the.
No, they don't promote them.
No.
You
well, it's because everyone's doing RPE.
I found it really good, you know. Yeah, but I think some of the lifters, I remember Brett Gibbs saying, he hates walkouts, doesn't agree with them. And I thought, fair enough. But I don't like bands. I'm not a band fan, you know.
Yeah, so did you do much accommodating resistance stuff? Chains or bands? Did you do much accommodating resistance stuff?
Never did any of that.
Right.
But I think it has its place, don't get me wrong, but used sparingly.
Yeah.
You know, not as I see some people just, they do the bends all the time, you know.
Yeah. There's probably a few ways to skin the cat, isn't there?
Yeah, no one way.
Yeah.
But
you just got to understand why your way works.
Yeah.
Because if you don't understand why it works, then what are you doing it for? You know what I mean? You won't know how to change it to make it work later on when it stops working.
Cathy, we want to question Graham, you know, why are we doing this? Yep. Absolutely. You wanted to understand what you're doing? Yeah.
I wanted to know why, you know, and I actually think I worked out some things better in you know, like it was definitely a collaboration. But he did the programs, you know. You know, but when I look back now, he did really well, really, you know.
Where did he get his programs from? Where was the theory come from?
USA Powerlifting, a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Graham was an avid reader.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he had boxes of US, you know, bodybuilding magazines, because he started when he was 14 or something. He was at Olympic lifting and all that sort of thing. So he'd come up through the ages, but he was an avid reader, you know, so he had heaps of those Iron Man old magazines and, you know, and I think, you know, part of what I did in my training when I look back was some of Ed Cohen's stuff, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, when I read some of his stuff, you know, but, yeah, control, lower reps, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah. Good old Ed.
Good old Ed Cohen, eh? Yeah. Still trying to get him on the podcast. He did agree. He did agree initially, and then I sent him the link to the podcast, and I haven't heard from him since. So.
Oh no! He listened to us. He was like, "Oh, I can't stand these."
Oh God!
He's a pretty good guy.
I'm gonna keep trying. I'm gonna keep trying. I know.
Yeah. I say, you know, he's in demand. I don't know where he is now. Is he still
Chicago?
In the States,
pro war things,
Yeah. He comes to Australia, I think, and helps out with the big dogs
with Pro Raw and stuff. I met him a couple of times at Pro Raw.
Yeah, he looks like a decent guy. Maybe you can try Jackson as well.
I'll try, mate. Don't worry. I'll use the boyish
picture with him.
Boyish charm, dashing good looks, you know.
Yeah, Kath says hi.
Yeah.
Not my name, because we do, you know, and we're not mates, but we, you know, there's a mutual respect because we were lifting at the same time.
We lifted at the same time, exactly.
Yeah. He just sadly got tested positive.
Yeah.
He did, didn't he? Yeah.
Repeatedly, but
yeah. As you do, yeah.
But it doesn't go against him in terms of respect.
No, exactly.
No, not when you lift those sorts of weights.
No, they were ridiculous. I mean,
ridiculous, and amazing. Yeah, amazing.
Crazy lifter.
Yeah.
The so after powerlifting, it says you took up some bodybuilding.
No.
I did it a little bit. I had a bit of a break. I suppose. I mean, to be honest, I was done. You know, I was tired, and
well, can I just quickly ask Cathy, why is that? Because it looked like, you know, you just dropped it at 94, right? And 94, at quite a young age, at 26.
Yeah, there was, and also it was a lot of tension between Graham and myself. And, you know, things were being made difficult for me, and I didn't want to, you know, battle that. And so people think, well, you just walked away, and I said, yeah, I did, because I thought I'm not going there, you know. And so that's sad in some ways, you know, but I didn't have that sort of, you know, fortitude to sort of go up against him then. Yeah, I give a shit, you know. But you know, when you're young, you know, I just thought, oh, I'm walking away, I'm done. Yeah. And then I sort of, you know, I didn't do any lifting. I got a bit fat, and then I sort of got into, I was living in Hamilton at the time with my partner, and you know, I just started going back to Les Mills, and then I started training again. And I noticed that they were after personal trainers, and I sort of just got into that. Moved up to Auckland, went to Les Mills, personal train there, and that's when I started doing bodybuilding. I thought, you know what, I want to give it a go, because he always said I couldn't do it. And I thought, I can do this, you know. And so, you know, and it was a diet. He said, I'll be the diet, you know. And I was because of course I'm lifting, I had a thickness, but actually my hips were quite narrow. When I actually, you know, when I actually dropped that sort of, you know, lifting sort of stuff,
the fluff.
you know. Yeah, I was quite narrow, so I had the back, and I used powerlifting methods to train, you know. And then I discovered Ian King, and I just sort of used that. And so what I realized is that I did have an eye for things that worked for me, and they were things that weren't being done. I mean, that's how many years ago? That's like, I'm 54 now, and that was when I was in my early 30s, like speed of movement, you know, the way you integrate different lifts and horizontal lifting and, you know, horizontal pulling and all that sort of thing. So I integrated those methods, and they still have merit today. So it gave me a, you know, like I was happy with how I looked.
Yeah.
You know.
So 2 questions off that.
Yep.
So you used powerlifting sort of methods while you were training for bodybuilding?
Yes, absolutely. But of course, obviously higher reps, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but I wasn't excessive highly reps, you know. I still did like 12s and, you know, like powerlifting. Yeah.
So but do you think from your experience, would you say that holds a lot of some bodybuilders back because they get scared of the heavy weights, you know, whereas you knew it already worked, so you
and I had the thickness there from lifting, you know. So I knew it made a difference. It was really bringing out the lines and stuff like that, and working that, you know, because I mean, if you did a little bit lifting, powerlifting, and bodybuilding methods, you would have a great all-round body.
Yeah, 100%.
Balance in your body if you train that way. And back then, when I got into bodybuilding, you know, I started reading in King stuff. It was like a godsend, really, because you know, I just copied his programs. And then when I got a little bit braver with it, I started sort of experimenting with doing my own sort of workouts, you know, and they were very balanced. He was unusual, you know, like, and so, I just got a lot out of it.
You can spot the difference in physique between someone who's done a pure bodybuilding style of workouts with machines and so forth, like a Phil Heath, versus someone who's come from a powerlifting background or a strength bracket background, because the muscle's thicker, you know, it's grainier. It can appear blocky at times as well, but it's definitely real muscle versus, I hate to say it, fluffy muscle, but you know.
Well, Ronnie Coleman was, you know, he was a deadlift. He did
exactly. He did powerlifting.
Look at his back, you know. Yeah. And he had great, amazing, and I tend to say flexibility. Hey.
Lightweight. Lightweight, baby.
But you know, he was but he was very flexible too, and that's something I think that I wish I'd done more of. That's something lifters could do. They put every minute they trained, they did stretching, it would make a huge difference for them. It gives you options, you know, but it's something that you got to be disciplined in doing. So I didn't do it back then.
No, that must be quite experience.
As I could have, you know.
Yeah, quite experience going from a single ply suit to bikini briefs.
Yeah, a bit different.
Honestly, I never thought of a bloody bikini. So I had to brave up on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great experience.
Yeah,
I like eating.
It's one of those things. It's one of those things you got to do, Jackson. You got to tick it off.
Chuck on a bikini, you reckon?
Chuck on a bikini and
nowadays, mate, it'd be nothing unusual. So.
No,
yeah, true. I get it. Yeah,
there's a class for it. Don't worry.
Yeah. I probably won't. I'll be the only one there. That's fine.
I'll join you, mate. I'll join you. Yeah.
I might get second.
A couple of mankinis.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I want to do it at some stage. Just do a show at some stage. See what happens.
It's one of those bucket list things, you know. Yeah. And I sort of thought, I'd love to go. And I wanted to do a world, so you know, I actually got picked to go to the IFBB Worlds in Poland.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but someone was interfering with that. So, so I decided I'm going to do the NABBA one in Christchurch because that's where I was from.
Yeah.
It didn't really matter to me. I sort of thought, could I do an Olympian? I thought, actually, I didn't have the discipline for it in the end. But it was good to be able to do it at home. I was really grateful for that, and my family got to see me. So
nice.
That's
And
awesome.
the diet you found the trickiest, because obviously it was
look,
a lot different to a powerlifting diet.
Yeah,
if there is such a thing
I
as a
managed
powerlifting diet.
but it was just the thing is with bodybuilding, it's everything you do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Everything you do, your food, your training, your partners have to be on board, and it's demanding on them. So, my those who stick with it,
Yeah.
Amazing. People that have been doing it for like 20, 30 years, I think.
Yeah, I think that they're permanently on, they're permanently on a diet, aren't they? People like Alex
and it's their life,
Alex
so respect.
Yeah.
Did you have much of a focus on nutrition when you were competing in powerlifting, or it was just an afterthought?
Well, I mean,
or it wasn't really a thing.
I would
then,
say
or?
it wasn't like I would have been now.
Right.
If I was doing it, I'd probably be very different in the way. I would be more.
Yeah.
I'd probably have a nutritionist. But Graham was a bodybuilding. Graham was well read, so I still, was eating pretty good.
Yeah. So still, protein.
Yeah, he had good knowledge, for that time. So
yeah.
I wasn't eating like Dunkin' Donuts and there was no Dunkin' Donuts, but you know what I mean. I wasn't eating shit.
Yeah, and I mean you competed across a few weight classes as well, so you obviously had the ability to chop and change your weight relatively easily. So you must have been on to something. 82
to 90 was sort of I could float between there, and I was a light 90 really. I wasn't like I was top heavy. I was like I had room.
Yeah, definitely.
Cathy, what are your thoughts now on the powerlifting scene in New Zealand?
Oh, look, in terms of where the sport's gone, where it is now, I think it's great to see so many people lifting. It's like it was awesome. I feel it's a bit fragmented in terms of there's a lot of different federations, and I don't know if we really have the numbers to support that.
Yeah.
100%.
But so in that sense, but I respect those who really lift. I just think you sort of got to be a bit realistic about. If there's a new federation, you go and lift and do world titles, it takes 10 to 15 years until you get that sort of level of lifting. I think that's people get a little caught up with, well, I'm a world champion. Well, really, you lifted in a federation that's 2 years old. So, but I think, people get a little caught up with
boxing.
A little bit, exactly. So now it's a little bit different. There was only one choice when I grew up,
Yeah.
And so it was different like that. But I'm not knocking what people do. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not disrespectful of it, but I just think you need to be a little bit. Maybe it's because of what I've come through when I was younger.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things with powerlifting these days. I definitely get what you're saying. Like when you won worlds, that was it. You are the world champion. That's it.
Yeah, there was WPC, but that was not on the same.
Wasn't on the same level. Wasn't on the same level at all.
Yeah, it was that. It was IFB. What is it?
IPF.
IPF. Sorry.
Yeah. Been too long.
It was IPF, and that was it.
Yeah. So you win IPF worlds back then. That's it. You're the world champ. There's no question.
That's right. And so you can hold that and feel proud about it.
Yeah.
I think now you can too. Now, because I mean, as I understand, IPF is still it's big.
Oh yeah.
Before COVID, it was still at good numbers. I mean, it was amazing.
I would still say that IPF is definitely the dominant federation worldwide.
Yeah.
But there are now these events popping up that are unaffiliated to a federation.
Like Pro Row and stuff like that.
Yeah, Pro Raw, Big Dogs, US Open.
Yeah.
There's the Irish Pro, the ABS series over in the UK. And they're starting
money,
to put up,
they're money in those.
Yeah, they're starting to put up some
thing.
good prize money.
Yeah.
Powerlifters are getting treated like athletes, which is sick, which is awesome, because I mean, as you probably found, it's always been a secondary sport.
Totally. Yeah.
So it's
it was a secondary sport. It was called the odd lifts, wasn't it? It was a derivative of weightlifting. It was called odd lifts.
When I came through though, in my best years, I got a lot of support from the Sports Foundation.
Yeah,
so good. I was really fortunate. I had somebody that sort of because it wasn't normal. It wasn't. I kept doing well at it. So I got TV items. I mean, I've never seen Brett on TV. It's a sad thing. He should be, but I don't think he's ever been like. It's all like he's social media big, but really locally, it's a sad thing. Because he was doing really well. So why haven't we been hearing that? But you're competing with all these other things. But I got on TV quite a lot.
Oh wow.
Yeah. The only powerlifting I've seen on TV in recent years is the WPO. They've got a thing with ESPN.
Oh, really?
And that's that's Westside and Dave Hoff and
yeah.
all those guys, because they love it. They have like flamethrowers coming out and like big sparklers, and I'm pretty sure they have ring girls, you know, and it's on this big lighting stage, and so they're on ESPN. It's probably ESPN 8 or something, but it's on TV, you know, which is sick.
Yeah, well, if you do a good enough job, you can turn into quite a spectator sport.
You can.
Know, so you've got to attract the audience. You've got to make it something that participants or the people, the audience, that come in and go, "Wow, it was a really good show. I don't mind sitting here for 6 hours watching this."
Yeah,
and then that brings in the advertisers, the promotion, the sponsors, and all that. Yeah,
and also
I
think
though if there's a little bit of I don't know what you think. I'd be interested in your thoughts of those who do those events. They don't tend to want to go up against. Would that be fair to say? Because they get what they want out of those pro raw events as opposed to going to Worlds?
Well, yeah. So this is what I was going to say about Worlds. So at the moment now, I mean, if you are, everyone's a world champion, everyone's got a national record, and everyone's got a gold medal, which really annoys me about powerlifting these days. But it doesn't seem like Worlds has the same
allure
as such, because there's all these other events that are offering them money. If you know what I mean. So it's almost getting to be the case of like, say, boxing or cycling, where you have an amateur league and then a professional league. So if you're the best amateur in the world, well, but there's still this whole array of people that are better than you as a professional.
Yeah, it's kind of like basketball and like boxing. You know, you might get boxing at the Olympics. Example. Yeah, you get boxing at the Olympics, but nobody really cares. No. And then you get boxing at the in Vegas, and it's
it's massive.
Massive.
I mean, like say, that fight with Tyson recently. I mean, he took home like 10 million or something ridiculous, and they weren't allowed to knock each other out. Yeah. Why would you go and do? Yeah, that was in the rules. They weren't allowed to knock each other out, and if there was any blood, the fight was stopped.
I didn't realize that. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. So they had all these safety rules in there. They both still took home huge paydays.
Yeah.
So like, if you've got the allure of money like that, like say Tyson Fury or any of those guys, why would you go and do the boxing world championships when you can get paid 7 figures to do a pay-per-view?
Exactly. There you go.
So then the guy can be like,
yeah,
so I think powerlifting is slowly almost moving that way. That actually might bring us to another question, Cathy. So, I mean, when you were lifting, were the IPF still trying to get it as an Olympic sport?
Yes.
They're still trying now. Do you ever think it'll happen?
No.
No. Why not?
Drugs.
Yep. Fair enough.
They were trying to kick out Olympic lifting.
Yeah, they still are.
They're still trying. I think it's nearly out.
So that's the thing, it's because drugs, you understand it. It just does. It attracts it. Of course it does.
Yeah.
But it's
the irony is there's drugs in all the sports, but
and there still is. I mean, it's like, come on.
Look at cycling, for example.
Oh, absolutely. That whole Lance thing didn't stop blood doping, did it?
No, of course not.
So it's just like
there's
pressure
smarter
on them. There's this pressure on to sort of clean it all up, but it doesn't really clean it up. It just gets smarter. Create something else.
I mean, realistically, it's the same guys making the new drugs as doing the tests. So they just keep the drugs slightly ahead of the tests. You know what I mean?
Exactly,
that's why they pop everyone from 8 years ago, because the tests catch up. But by then it doesn't matter. The guy's made his millions over the last 8 years. He doesn't care. He's in some mansion in Hollywood.
Yeah, then he goes on a speaking circuit about the error of his ways. Charging 10 grand a pop.
Yeah, exactly. So they don't care. And then the guy that's 10th is the only one that tests clean. So that and then he gets his gold medal in the mail.
Yeah, I know.
Who cares?
I had that situation in India. So it was actually probably my best sort of face-off with an Indian lifter in the squat. She won the gold. She pipped me, but she got tested positive. So
was that at the
I won it, but I won that, but it was like after the event. It's not the same. It's not
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. You've already had your moment taken away, which is what you're competing for.
Your moment, yeah.
So I can't see it happening. It'd be wonderful if it became an Olympic sport. It'd be absolutely awesome, but I just can't see it. Are they still pushing it?
I think they're always going to push for it.
I think they probably submit something every year, like a request.
Okay.
I think, but I think the latest thing to go in is hip hop dancing. That's the latest thing into the Olympics now.
Well, there you
Hip
go.
hop
I mean,
dancing.
that's what you're working against, you know.
Yeah.
Just hope for us.
But I always think about, like, you look at wrestling, and you've got college wrestling, you've got Olympic wrestling, and then you've got the WWE. You know, and which is more popular? Which is earning the athletes money? You know.
Yeah, that's the
There
thing.
you go.
Why would you strive to be an Olympic wrestler when you could be a WWE, WWF, you know, and have millions of people adoring you and, you know, throwing money at you? Yeah.
Right. And
Fake
then you've got
wrestling.
like jiu-jitsu, you know, all those sorts of things. So they're taking people away from.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
it's
even
right,
like
you know.
say jiu-jitsu or something's a prime example. Why would you go to a jiu-jitsu world championships? I mean, I'm sure a lot of guys still do, but why would you go to jiu-jitsu world championships when you can branch out a wee bit into boxing and kickboxing and then go to MMA and get paid to
yeah.
fight?
UFC, you know.
Go
to
to
UFC.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
why would you bother doing a world championships
Yeah.
where you're going to get a piece of probably a plastic gold medal? Who cares? You know, it's a hard one.
Yeah.
So I think powerlifting's sort of going down that route at the moment. But
yeah, Cathy, best powerlifters in the world. Who do you think they are?
Me.
No, yeah. Who are the best?
Who are they now? I mean, honestly, I'm out of touch. I have no idea.
Like,
I don't even know half the people.
Back when you were competing, who were the best? Like, you know, the Russians.
Ed Cohen, you know, Ed Cohen. In terms of the guys, he was sort of dominating. He was lifting, and there was 2 meets that were men and women's together, and so he was dominating in that. I'm just trying to think, mate. You know? You wouldn't know the names, you know, but I'm just there was like Lizzie Oddendale that when I sort of first started coming in, like hitting the international scene in my 20s. So, but you know, it's there was Ruthie Schaefer was my sort of idol when I was young. Bev Francis, she was very good, but she sort of she did really well in bodybuilding, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Gym over in.
She's still alive. I'm not sure.
Bev Francis, gym. I think it's in.
Yeah, she's still going. So
yeah, it's like a mecca.
American
it's a mecca for bodybuilding.
Yeah.
I
think she is very involved in that. So yeah, I mean, they were sort of my era, but honestly, I don't really know now who dominates. I think.
Did you compete with Jody Bulgaris too? That was.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
I remember Jody. Yeah, I used to go to Frank and Jody's gym. Yeah.
So in terms of New Zealand, yeah.
Right. In terms of all the countries you competed in, were there any particular countries that were just like, wow, where has this team come from? They're just so stand out, impressive.
In terms of the team that I lifted.
Yeah, like if you competed in Sweden or Belgium or India, you know, did you think the Indian lifters were fantastic? The American lifters were fantastic.
They were strong. Probably they had lifters and all. They actually did a good meet, you know. And there was like 80 million Indians watched it.
Oh wow!
You know, it was because it was unusual. You know.
Yeah.
So I got offers of marriage.
Wow!
An apartment with aircon, in which in New Delhi you'd want.
Oh yeah, I can imagine, eh? Yeah.
So it's big, you know, but it was so that was different, you know. Probably where did I love the most? Sweden, probably.
Sweden, yeah.
In Longshiping, they did a good mate. Yeah, they did a good mate. Finland, when I did my Finland bench, because we weren't used to having big numbers, but in lifting and in that particular city or town, it was popular. They had quite a good number of people, so I loved that because I had an old atmosphere and I wasn't used to it. Yeah. But and the other place was Den Haag when they had our World Games every 4 years. It was like our little mini Olympics.
Yeah.
I would say it was sort of like Sweden, Den Haag, Finland. You know, nice. the Europeans, because they were, you know,
Europeans love their
they were cool. They were cool, but they were meaning, you know, they reserved. But they were strong people, so you know, and a lot of respect for them.
So a couple of did a comp in 2013 for USPA, which was the Olympia Powerlifting Bench Press and Deadlift Invitational, and then you did comp over here, with Capo.
I just wanted to do a bench, you know, like
bench only.
I was trying to see how it went, and I was trying out those damn bloody suits, you know.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was I actually did a slight tear in my
did a fourth attempt
on my last attempt, you know, like I realized then I I nearly went raw because I thought, fuck, I couldn't quite hit that sweet spot, and I went to get Strength Gym and John and Kiwi, they gave me a bit of guidance because I didn't know how to use the frigging thing. So, it was uncomfortable for me. And then I missed a few times because you know what it's like trying to get that blooming sweet spot. And those things. So I thought, God, if I don't get when I had my last bench workout, I thought, if I don't get it, I'm going raw because I don't want to go over and then bomb. That's like, so, no, but I got it. It was okay. I went for 180, I think, but oh man, those things they're another thing. It's another sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
Was that a super katana?
It was no, mate. I would not have been able to. It was just. It was a
177.5
if I carried on with
bench.
it, that would have been. I would have gone to that. It was
Right.
like the one down from there.
Katana or an F6.
Katana. If I tried to go seven katana, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't just I needed more time and more comps doing it.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
Takes a while
and then I just
get around
decided
a
I don't want
supercat.
to go that way, and I hadn't, because I sort of came back into lifting. I hadn't really done a lot of foundational work, and I'd had a big break. And I was a little bit naive to think I could come back and my body would respond. Like
20 years, 20 year break.
So I did well in the bench, but when I started working with Ian King in there, I had to do so much stretching and I had to do so much other work. And I just didn't have the motivation, And so I reached the point where I just
Leave it.
I'm okay. I'm happy with what I've done. Yeah.
So no more lifting plans.
Well, I never say never. I mean, I'll tell you something. I mean, I'm one of those fortunate people. I'm not really doing much weights at the moment. I like boxing at the moment. I'm doing a bit of boxing. It's a different thing, and I don't want to spend all my time inside in a gym. So it's sort of like, I think it was a little bit of, it was hard for me to come, a bit of a mental thing when you've done really well at something and then you're trying to come and, up again. So there was that sort of going on.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really happy, in myself when I was sort of trying to come back. And so I just, in the end, I thought, I'm best probably just to leave it,
Yeah.
And so I'm lucky in the sense that my body, I've still got shoulders, I can still, most people I know that were competitive, their shoulders, one or both of them are fucked, And so.
Yeah, we spoke about this last week. It's one of the first things to go for that. Yeah.
You really got to look after your shoulders, So it's sort of like, so I have imbalances. I have a few to be a little bit careful, but I think I would bench. I'd have to do too much work to do. I could probably deadlift again, but I'm not really. I don't want to load my spine.
You probably still pull 180.
Oh, I don't know. No, I'd be a bit of a struggle. Big things heavy, but I never. I'm sort of thinking like maybe I might do another bench, just a fun thing. I just have to do more regular training, and I'm not. You see, I'm sort of got out of that habit of doing regular training apart from what I'm. I like doing. It's the prep work, and I think it's I'd have to do a bit of that, but not a lot if I bench because I'm quite blessed in that area.
Nice. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Jackson, you had a question?
Oh, so I was going to say just so about, is it Ian King?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about that. So that's what you've gone to training wise now.
When I did my bodybuilding, I discovered his books, Get Buff.
Yep.
And he's written a whole series of them now, and they're quite, I'd say advanced, and just the books are advanced. But when I was getting back into it, I started doing his coaching sort of stuff, and I went over to Utah a couple of times, and it was next level sort of thing. I realized that, and I got him to assess me as an athlete, and I realized I knew nothing, really not much at all. He's the next level. He breaks and so I asked him if he would coach me. I went over to Aussie and I got assessed by him and stuff like that. And he said to me, and it was absolutely right. He said, your biggest thing will be motivation. And it was holding my motivation. But I learned a lot from him, like a huge amount from him because it was a one-on-one thing. And so what we would do is that we would have sessions like over Skype, and he would break down my squat. And one time we spent an hour on one set.
Wow.
That's how detailed he was,
Wow. Yep.
And so I was very fortunate. I brought him over a couple of times, but it's that people want YouTube. He's old school in the sense that he breaks it down, but the things he did 20 years ago still have merit now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I was doing things like speed of movement and all that sort of thing back when I did my bodybuilding years, not in my powerlifting. I started doing a little bit of that, being mindful of the eccentric and concentric and, isometric, the three they call it tempo, but it's actually speed of movement. So I started incorporating that near the end. God, I wish I'd known about that then, but earlier. But you know, hey, you know, I still did okay. But I did it in my bodyboarding. I did my bodyboarding, and I thought, fuck, you know, and I couldn't understand why. And that was me. I just thought, why are people doing this? You know, and but I suppose that's what I did have. I was just a little bit different. I saw the merit in it, you know. And I said the funniest thing now is that I don't really see it much now, you know.
Yeah.
It's more systematic training, and Americans love systems.
They do. They love titles. They love to be.
They love systems, and they like equipment.
Yep.
And they're heavily influential in the scene. So of course, what do people follow? And it's free on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
Yeah.
Well, the thing these days is if your program doesn't have like a catchy name, like you say, like a system, then it's not a program.
No.
You know what I mean?
I don't see. So for me, this is how I look at that, Jackson. It's like, Greg, you'll have different weaknesses and imbalances compared to Jackson and compared to me, you know. So you know what I mean? So why are you not training your weaknesses? You know?
Yeah, 100%.
To become a better lifter, and that always is. It's always been that's to me is common sense. Why are you doing the same thing as he's doing, and he's doing it? It doesn't make any sense. Not that you wouldn't do, you know. And the thing is about, I suppose, when you all get together and squat, that's great, but there might be different assistant exercises.
Different assistances, of course, exactly.
Things like that you do. And I think it's, you know what I think it is. They don't know how to program.
No one
actually knows how to program. And so when I would talk about these things, I realized I was just talking to ear. They just didn't want to know. You know? And,
no one wants to be wrong.
And I didn't relate because I was older, I suppose, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, and they still love it, and they get into the gym, and they, you know.
That's one of those things like when Greg asked before, like, so when you were training with Graham, you questioned things. Why are we doing this, or why is this exercise here?
Yeah, because I didn't understand why I was doing it and breaking it down. And we break down my lifting, you know, my squats. And as I said, it took me 2 years to master that.
Would you do the same? Would you do the same after a competition, Cathy, where you looked at where you might have failed and thought, well, I failed because of X, Y, and Z, you know?
I didn't fail very often though.
No.
And my height, you know,
it's smart attempt selection.
Yeah, it was like getting better. You know, but I think if I look back on it, I probably got stale with the training. You know, like in terms of physically style, you know, like, you know, I was starting to lose my grip, you know, and things like that. So I needed to have probably, you know, maybe, you know, all due respects to Graham, it's not a criticism of him, but he was a lawyer and he read a lot, but you know, it was it wasn't his profession. Whereas for the King, it was his profession. So what he did, you know, all the time, you know. Yeah. And so it's a different thing. And so and he trained many different athletes in many different sports. Strength. He is only a very small part of what he does. But he opened my eyes to flexibility and all that sort of thing, and control movement. And, you know, and I still, if I do weights, I'll still do that before I train. I'll stretch before I train, you know, things like that, you know.
Yeah.
So
I don't think there's a level of respect for that expertise. You know, I've seen over the last few years, especially with you know, experts will come over and turnout and attendance will be pretty poor.
It was exactly what happened when I brought him over.
You know, and you're paying good money because they are experts in their field, and people are like, well, no, I just need to watch YouTube, or I just need to look at so and so on the internet and train like them because that works for them, so it's going to work for me. You know, it's a real shame, really.
Yeah.
People definitely lost that critical thinking. Like, what, you know, why is this, and why am I doing this? How do I fix this? They get a bit caught up, and then obviously don't want to spend the money as well.
Well, you even know, Jackson, and you're a young dude.
Yeah, I mean, I love the nitty gritty.
Which is great.
Yeah,
but
I love that stuff.
It takes one person to influence others, and so you'll probably be very influential on others in that way, you know, which is lovely.
I mean, all my clients, they just talking about it another time with Greg, but like when you were saying about your method when you go up to the bar, all my clients say that they have this like tape recording of me in their head. Because they each have different cues that they need to remember in a different order. And so they each have this tape recording of me in their head, and they just go through it every single time. And I mean, like you say, you looked at a squat for an hour with it'll
break it down like that. It was just like next level sort of thing. And you know, it just showed what could be done. And that's not taken away from anyone in Graham's help or anything like that. You know, Graham did bloody well, actually, you know. And he gave me a lot of his time, but it's, I mean, it's, just different. you know.
Yeah, it is crazy the level of detail you can go into with that sort of thing. Like for me, I coach people in person and online. So when I take people online, it's all by video. So I'll get them to send me some heavy lifts, not fails. I say, don't you dare fail, because then your weakness is just you weren't strong enough. But but so I can see them break down, and then I'll send them a technical report, and it's usually the best part of 10 pages long. It's 7 or 8 pages long usually.
Wow.
Good on you.
On bench, squat, and deadlift, going through it. And then like we'll have Zoom calls or Skype calls of what stuff they didn't understand, or etc. It's basically I hit them with like a shotgun blast.
Yeah.
So you see what cues stick, and then they get weekly feedback to figure out what happens. But the first thing that people ever say to me is, I didn't realize that there was so much detail. They thought
that they think you bend your knees.
Yeah, on a squat, you squat down, don't you? Deadlift, you just pick it up.
Just pick it up. Exactly.
You just pick it up. It's just okay. Like,
how hard can it be?
But there's so many little nitty gritty details, because the big movements, every joint in your body's involved in every single one of them.
Yeah.
And so you've got to be, the thing I always preach to people is that stability is the king of strength, really.
Absolutely.
Which, obviously you would have found out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You see all the best in the world. They're very stable, aren't they?
Yeah, you have to be, because otherwise, one of the other things, I got it from Thomas Lilly actually, but if you're not stable, doesn't matter how strong you are, it's like shooting a cannon from a canoe.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how big the cannon is, you're shooting it from a canoe, you're not going to be able to aim it in the right direction.
Yeah.
So
the canoe's going to capsize.
Yeah.
So Cathy, you coach now? Was that no coaching?
No, I haven't been doing any of that. Yeah. Sort of moved
What do you do with your time now? What does a ex-world champion powerlifter do?
Box.
You just box.
In terms of training, I do boxing and stuff like that. I mean, I was doing it for a little while. I still had my hand in, but it was just really, it wasn't lifters. I'm to be honest, I really don't know what's happening in the lifting scene. Next year, I'm actually moving home. I'm actually moving to where I'm from, which is Christchurch. I'm going
Christchurch.
Yep.
Have I got a proposition for you?
So my family's, my mum's 88. I was going to actually look to buy up north, but I'm actually decided that I'll just feel I'll be, because I want to spend some time with her. She's good in it, but she's getting frail, and I just would like to be near my family now.
Good on you. Fair enough.
So and it's, it's affordable down there. So, and I still love Auckland, but I just don't. There's nothing really keeping me here anymore. And so I just sort of thought, I think I'll go home. And so I'm looking forward to that actually. And it's going to be like it's a different city to when I was brought up. Obviously, just for everything.
We're still fixing shit after the earthquake.
Oh, I know, mate. It looks. I have to say, it's looking good. It's amazing what they've done.
It's definitely not bad. But
no. But I hear they're still going. So and I want a bit of a lifestyle, sort of like lifestyle block. And the thing down there, I don't mind if I'm out a little bit because I want to grow my own. That's all where I want to go.
Yeah, nice.
Have a little bit of a good life.
Yeah.
And it's funny when you get older, you sort of start thinking like that, but but I'm active, like I'm still active in that sense. So I'll probably get into the whole permaculture thing and have a cow and chickens and stuff.
Nice.
Why not?
I won't be off the grid.
No,
yeah.
Just do your thing.
I had to but I probably will get back in the gym and stuff like that. But it will be, in a non-competitive way. But you never know.
Body. Come down to Bodycore gym.
Okay, what's the name of it?
Bodycore.
I'll write it down. Where are you?
Yeah, we're in Sydenham.
Bodycore.
Yeah, BODYCORE.
Sydenham. Okay.
Yeah, it's in Sydenham.
Nice little plug for the gym there.
There you go. Shameless plug. So if you end up buying a lifestyle block out sort of Thai Tap or Hallswell way.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't really be. I mean, I'm used to Auckland distances, mate. So you come home, and so even if you're an hour away or 40 minutes away, it won't bother me.
No, exactly. Yeah. That's a quiet day. In Auckland.
Yeah. I mean, you can drive across Christchurch in 15, 20 minutes.
Even in peak hour, and it's like, Mum says, "Oh no, it's a busy time." I said, "Mum, I live in Auckland." So, Anyway, awesome. What about you, Greg? What are you up to now?
I was still training, despite what the boys might say sometimes. But I still try. I'm still sticking at it.
What did you squat
43.
the other day, Greg? Just
Yeah,
for
they went and talk
comparison to
about
Cathy's
it.
numbers?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, no.
Oh, look, you wouldn't want to say ask me, but people saw me squatting. That's where I can get a little bit shy because my weights are nothing, you know. So it's like, you know, but I don't train. So, but it's so of course you lose your strength, but you know, it's still a bit proud like that.
Yeah. No, my training's going
Make it
okay.
reasonable, and then I might come down.
I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging in
Oh,
there.
good on you.
Yeah. Quite involved in powerlifting. So we obviously Jackson, Hamish, and Geordie and I have the podcast. Still running GPC New Zealand. Yeah. We're running.
It's still doing well, isn't it?
Yeah, we're doing okay. It's a bit of fun, and it's a good family environment, and the lifters are having a good time. So yeah.
Yeah, I know. I thought you and Court did a great job building that up to that. You know.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's been fun. Hey, so we'll leave it there, Cathy. It's been an hour and a half, but just wanted to huge thank you. Yeah, hour and a half has flown by.
There you go. What a yarn,
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. It's nice to talk about it.
Yeah, likewise. It's been great having you on.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Jackson.
No, nice to meet you as well.
Yeah.
See you down at the gym at some
where I
stage.
come because I'm definitely moving home. It's just not going to be till later in next year, you know. But
awesome.
Yeah, plenty of powerlifting comps for you to come along to if the bug ever, gets you.
There's certainly not a shortage.
Yeah.
I sort of slip in now. People don't really recognize me. You know, it's quite good. So sit in the corner.
Yeah, it's ridiculous these days, and I mean, I still have that as well. Some people were like, they talk to me like they've been powerlifting for years, and they've been powerlifting for 3 years, and I'm like, mate, and I mean, Cathy, you'd have the same. Like, you were powerlifting, you know, years before I was.
Many more years before you, Jackson.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't want to say it, Greg, but you.
How old are you, Jackson?
You know,
a young boy.
I was born when you were still winning worlds.
Yeah. Get out of it.
Hey, thanks for your time. I really enjoyed it.
No, thanks for coming on, Cathy. It's been great.
Please send me a link to this. Do you have a membership, or is that the sort of thing it is, or how does it work?
Well, that's a good idea, isn't it?
It's free.
That's free.
It's free.
That's the best thing about it. Yeah. No, we'll chuck it up on the YouTube page. There'll be a YouTube link, and the audio version of this is available on all the major podcast apps as well. But we'll definitely, if we can, we'll link you into the Facebook posts when we chuck this up. It'll probably go live, Jackson. We'll go live next Monday, for this one. Next Monday. It'll be Monday. Will be Monday for the people when they watch this, which will be the 21st.
21st. Monday the 21st.
I'll check it up on the 21st around about 6-7 p.m. Seems to be a good time.
Very cool.
And then you can share away. So it'd be great for people to listen in and hear all about your history.
I'd really appreciate if you sent me that through. It'd be great.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right, Cathy.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Cathy.
All the best.
Nice work.
Catch you later. Bye-bye.
Yeah.